Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a concert review, and I'm doing a concert review of a show I went to last night at Center Stage in Atlanta, Georgia. And last night I saw Cannibal Corpse, Whitechapel, Revocation, and Shadow of Intent. Now, about this show, this was the first show of the tour, and they kicked it off right here in good old A-Town, Um, and I remember that yesterday I got up really fucking early. I got up at like 5:30 in the morning because I had to get up early for work. I had to work before the show. And pretty much after I got off work at like 3:30, I just headed from work immediately to the venue. Um, yeah, and I just was chilling in my car a little bit, and then I remember waiting in line was freaking miserable because it was cold as fuck outside. Um, yeah, but that's besides the point. And then after a while I got in, and right when I was going to look at merch, I looked over and look who I saw. I saw my good buddy Bryce Butler, who is Shadow of Intent's new drummer, and is a buddy of mine. I've actually did an interview with him a while back. Um, yeah, and we chatted for a little bit, and let's just dive right into the show. Like, this was the first band was Shadow of Intent. Now, this was my fifth time seeing the band. I've seen every show they've done in Atlanta since 2018, where they came here with Carnifex and Oceano. And Shadow of Intent they just played for about 30 minutes. They opened up with a Barren and Breathless Markacosm, which was from their previous album Melancholy. In fact, they only played mostly like new songs. They've played the new, because they have the new album LG. They played Intensify Genocide, The Coming Fire. In fact, the only oldest song was from they played was the Catacombs off of Reclaimer, and they played Where Millions Have Come to Die, which I was hoping that Phil Bozeman would have come out from Whitechapel, would have come out and do his part in that, but he just didn't. But Ben killed it there, and they pretty much closed with Blood in the Sand of Times. But overall, I think Shadow of Intent just puts on a really great show. I was actually walking around, and of course I ran to my buddy Taylor Barber. You probably know him in Atlanta as the vocalist for the band Left to Suffer, is a buddy of mine. And I was hanging with him, and of course Bryce and Ben Dorr from Shadow of Intent. And I was kind of like joking, like it would be cool if Left to Suffer and Shadow of Intent were to do a tour together, and I think that would be awesome. But yeah, it was awesome to see them. Now, then the next band up is of course the almighty Revocation. Now, this was my sixth time seeing Revocation. The last time I saw them was back in 2019, at the Buckhead Theater, where they played with Whitechapel and Dying Fetus. And they were pretty good live. I know, I remember the last time I saw them, I know my buddy Jacob said they don't sound good live. And, I mean, I don't know what his ears have heard, but they sound killer live. Now, they've played a slightly longer set than Shadow of Intent. They played pretty much 6 songs just like Shadow, but they played for about 35 minutes. And it was mostly like more recent stuff. The oldest song they've played was from Deathless from 2014. It was Madness Opus, and they played some of the stuff from the Outer Ones. They played of Unworldly Origin, and the Outer Ones, The Witch Consumes All Things, and they also closed with Communion off of Great Is Our Sin, another their good album, and they're pretty much a great band. And the cool thing was, and I never knew this, is like right when I was walking around the venue, I was just wandering around aimlessly, and I look over and I thought, is that? And it couldn't be, and apparently it was. Apparently I ran into Trevor Sternad from the Black Dahlia murder was at the show, because I found out that he actually lives here in Georgia. He lives in Decatur, which I never knew that. I was kind of surprised. So it was cool meeting him. I actually told him because I actually saw them at the same venue where they played at back in last September with Carnifex and After the Burial, and that was a pretty sick show, and I actually got to hang with him, and he was a fucking cool dude. Then next band up is, of course, Whitechapel. Now, this was my 6th time seeing Whitechapel, and the last time I saw them was actually with the Revocation, when they played with Revocation back in 2019, with that same show that I just mentioned. Whitechapel, they played about 11 songs. They played for a little about 50 minutes. Like, they played mostly newer stuff. They played stuff from, like, The Valley and the new album Kin. They played, like, Brimstone, Forgiveness is Weakness, Black Bear, Bloodsoaked Symphony. And they also debuted the two new songs, which is the ones that made Us and Lost Boy. And the coolest thing was, right near about three quarters of the way in their set, they brought out Prostatic Fluid Asphyxiation off of the Somatic Defilement, which I was like, holy shit. And then they went right into This Is Exile, which that meant a lot, because that was the first song I ever heard from Whitechapel back in 2009 when I was like 15 years old, and I've pretty much been a fan of Whitechapel since. And it's really cool to see how far that they've evolved from '07 to now. And they're pretty much close with The Saw Is the Law. Just a really catchy song. And then we get to the headliners, Cannibal Corpse. Now, I don't think I really need to say much about Cannibal Corpse that hasn't been said already. One of the best band in death metal, been around since the early 90s, or late 80s, early 90s. This was my 7th time seeing Cannibal Corpse. I last saw them in August last year when I went up to Vegas for the Psycho Las Vegas Fest. I got to see them for most of their set. They played a blistering 18-song set. They pretty much started off with The Time to Kill Is Now, and then they played some more modern hits. They played like Scourge of Iron, The Wretched Spawn, Evisceration Plague, Killer Become. They played some new songs. They only played like 3 new songs. They played Inhumane Harvest, and they also debuted 2 new songs that haven't been played live till now. They played Necrogenic Resurrection and Condemnation Contagion from the latest album, Violence Unimagined. And they've also replayed the classics. They played I Come Blood, Fucked with a Knife. They played freaking Devoured by Vermin, Skullful of Maggots, Stripped, Raped, and Strangled. And they've closed with the song that pretty much needs no introduction, Hammer Smashed Face. And boy, oh boy, that was a hell of a set. And after the show, I was waiting around outside the bus, or pretty much like how Center Stage is. It's like a drop and load in. I was waiting for like Campbell's buses, like, because they pull right in front of the venue, and then the bands would come out through that little ramp thing. And well, I only got to meet Alex Webster, and he was cool as shit. And I was fucking up. I was hanging with another buddy of mine, Richard, who also follows me on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and also watches the channel. And I was hanging with him, and we were also hanging with Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder, and he was cool as shit. I was actually mentioning I was trying to get a hold of him to try to do an interview, and he says he'd be down. So Trevor, if you're watching this, just let me know, dude. But yeah, it was a fun show, and I didn't even get home till like 1:30 this morning. Barely got enough sleep last night, and I'm actually going out tonight to see Obscura. So if anybody from Georgia or A-Town is going to be at that show, I'll see you there. So yeah, so if I were to give last night show a score, I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. Yeah. And I'm actually planning on seeing this tour again. They're playing in Birmingham, Alabama at Iron City. It will be on my birthday, March 23rd. So if any Alabama people are watching this, that want to come say hi, buy me a drink. So yeah, that's pretty much my concert review of last night's show. Great way to kick it off in Atlanta. And if this tour comes anywhere near you, I would highly recommend you go to this. So yeah, that's my review of the show, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.